Well, this was kind of to be expected. Hi, my name is Sydney, welcome back to hell. And as per usual, before we launch in, today's video is sponsored by Fume. And yes, before everybody starts making comments, I did cut my hair. It was just getting so ratty and really needed a chop. I don't know how I feel about this though. I guess we'll see once I wash it myself, because I'm not actually the greatest fan of hair salon hair. It's like, it's too soft for me. I like my frizzy hair. I like that it's usually poofy and unruly. That's how I like it. Yeah, I don't know how to feel about it, but at least now it's been acknowledged, so we can move on. So it seems that our friends over at Disney have finally realized that the menfolk are upset with them. I mean, I can't imagine why they wouldn't be, given that Disney keeps calling them racist and misogynistic because they don't like lesbian space witches. Shaming the lads to get their attention is not a winning strategy, Kathleen. So in a strange turn of events, on August 21, 2025, Variety published an article titled, "Disney's Boy Trouble. Studio seeks original IP to win back Gen Z men amid Marvel Lucasfilm struggles." That was hard to say. The article describes how Disney execs have been squeezing Hollywood over the last number of months for original ideas that will bring young men back into the fold. Specifically, they want Gen Z men back, so those aged between 13 to 28. Or thereabouts. Yes, that is the same group they have been overtly shaming for the last number of years. Oh, how the turntables. The article also describes how Gen Z men are lonely, gaming obsessed, and have been ruined by the COVID-19 lockdowns, making them a difficult group to appeal to. What a charitable description. But that hasn't stopped Disney from looking for original material despite its ownership of two massively male-orientated franchises, Marvel and Star Wars. Disney has also recently bought a $1.5 billion, with a B, stake in the game Fortnite, which it will use to incorporate its own characters. So if Disney has access to all of these male-orientated things, then why is it struggling to get men to show up? Well, pretty simply, it's because for years Disney has decided to lecture its audience rather than entertain them. Once again, not a winning strategy. They push DEI and corporate feminism into franchises built for men, blamed fans when their films and shows flopped, and now they're scrambling to win back Gen Z guys who just aren't interested in seeing the same slop handed to them over and over and over again. When they bought Marvel in 2009 and Lucasfilm in 2012, they knew these were gold mines for male audiences. Iron Man was blowing up at the time in a good way, and Star Wars' already decently long legacy had proved it was a major hit with male viewers, with lightsabers and space battles, fun and interesting storylines, and importantly, no psycho, overt political lecturing. But somewhere along the way, Disney decided that it was a great idea, the greatest idea, to effectively rebrand these franchises, making it very clear that one of their primary objectives was to have more women, more diversity, and more female-led stories, and behind the scenes hiring more women into high-ranking roles within the company. And they very quickly set about putting these plans in motion. I just have to remind you all of Kathleen Kennedy running around in her Forces female shirt. I'm not so sure about that, Kathleen. When The Force Awakens was released in 2015, a lot of people were really excited about new Star Wars content. But right out of the gate, it was clear that this was a different kind of Star Wars. Not only was the lead protagonist a woman called Rey, which, by the way, ordinarily is completely fine. I mean, the original Star Wars featured our girl Leia, for goodness sake. But Rey, to a lot of viewers, turned out to be a decently unlikable Mary Sue surrounded by incompetent male characters. Absolutely nobody is a bigger Rey disrespecter than me. I dislike her on a philosophical level. Anyway, this kind of set the tone for what was to come. Pain! When the 2017 Last Jedi hit cinemas, fans were confused to see Luke Skywalker, the primary protagonist from the original trilogy, had turned into a grumpy hermit who tossed his lightsaber like it was rubbish. In interviews, Disney execs made it clear that their objective was to attract more women to the franchise and make everything more woman-friendly. So of course we ended up with shows like The Acolyte in 2024, which highlighted twin sisters, diverse Jedi, and Force-sensitive dinosaurs and lesbian space witches?
What's that? Esposo. Is he or they with us?
Ultimately, we did end up with a series of unlikable female characters like Vice Admiral Emmeline Holdo. I hope I said that correctly. I don't think I've ever said that out loud. I've just read it a bunch of times. Protagonists who really felt like some sort of, you know, weird self-insert from someone in the writing room. She even has the purple hair. These people are never living down that stereotype. Never. On the plus side, you know who has a stereotype of actually being pretty great? Fume, the sponsor of today's video, and you should bloody well watch the ad that I made for them because I discovered a new editing thing that I can do now. You know, we have a lot of fun on this channel, but now I want to talk to you about something serious. Every day, millions of Americans suffer from boring air syndrome. Yes, it's real. Don't look it up. But thanks to advancements in air technology, we can now make the air we breathe both exciting and personalized. And it's all thanks to today's sponsor, Fume. Fume is a flavored air device that not only gives you the satisfaction of having a flavor blast of air delivered straight to your taste buds, but it's guilt-free, non-toxic, vaporless, and a way of filling the void of unhealthy, bad-tasting habits that force you to stand outside in the heat for a fix. Fume would never do that to you. Fume likes you too much. And what's more, Fume is shown that its product is twice as effective at helping stop bad habits than all the other solutions on the market. And these clean flavors are fantastic. There's mango, crisp mint, cinnamon hearts, and many, many more. And another thing, the Fume devices are stylish, personalized, easy to carry around, and surprisingly fun to play with. This is mine. I call it Aladdin because every time I use it, it takes me to a whole new world of fun and excitement. Friends, you don't deserve to have boring air syndrome. You deserve to have the greatest, tastiest, science-approved, award-winning air device from Fume. So if you are ready for tasty flavored air and to stop your bad habits, then click the link in the description, scan the QR code on screen, or go to tryfume.com/Sydney. And don't forget to use code Sydney to get your free Fume topper when you order a journey pack. Given that the Star Wars audience was and continues to be majority male, a lot of these decisions just didn't make a lot of sense. And no, it's not because men refuse to watch female characters or don't want to watch female characters, it's because they prefer those of the well-written variety. A flavor of protagonists that seems to be very lacking in today's Hollywood. They have girl boss too close to the sun. There's also the fact that Star Wars hasn't released a film since 2019, but has in fact churned out a bunch of reasonably terrible shows, and that's certainly a choice. But then there's Marvel. After Endgame in 2019, which made $2.7 billion by being everyone's movie, Marvel leaned hard into what fans often call the MCU. 2022's She-Hulk was focused on courtroom drama and women-orientated issues, and the Hulk thing was much more secondary. Hulk himself was also positioned as weaker than Jennifer, the girl Hulk for those of you who don't know, as she picked up skills almost immediately and could absolutely thrash him around with very little effort. And let's not forget this speech.
Here's the thing, Bruce. I'm great at controlling my anger. I do it all the time. When I'm catcalled in the street, when incompetent men explain my own area of expertise to me, I do it pretty much every day, because if I don't, I will get called emotional or difficult, or I might just literally get murdered. So I'm an expert at controlling my anger because I do it infinitely more than you.
I do it infinitely more than you do. Have you met men? Do you know how much testosterone they have? Especially a giant green one? I don't know, lady. Men have to go and, like, live in mine shafts. I don't think you're that hard done by. The Marvels in 2023 tanked at the box office, and even Fantastic Four First Steps this year with Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby just didn't stick. And while it was better than what a lot of people were expecting, it just didn't hit like a Marvel film used to. It goes without saying, but Marvel's audience is also majority male, but here as well there has been a massive push to have more female characters and more female-led stories in an effort to almost fix something that wasn't broken. Like I said with relation to Star Wars, I definitely think the same thing applies here with Marvel. There are a bunch of female superheroes that men really like, so it's really less about the women themselves and more the agonizing way that they're portrayed. She-Hulk, Captain Marvel, The Marvels, that's just a handful of movies out of many. It's like either the actress themselves is completely insufferable, or the way that the female protagonist is written is insufferable. And that becomes so obvious when you juxtapose these new wave of films with old films that feature a female protagonist that everybody liked and loved. I've talked about this in detail in previous videos, and I'm always hesitant to go over old ground, but just to reiterate, a well-written character is more important than focusing on the sex of a character and making that the primary plot point, like the primary focal point. And it seems that modern Hollywood is so preoccupied with having any woman that they've forgotten to produce women who have actual personality traits, who have struggles and flaws and feel things and experience life. But hey, driving things into the ground is actually not new for Disney at all, and they have been fumbling male-orientated stories for decades. Fun fact. Back in the early 2000s, they tried to appeal to boys with two animated gems, Treasure Planet and Atlantis: The Lost Empire. By the way, I'm going to say this ahead of time, Treasure Planet is probably my favorite Disney film. I just love it. I think it's so cute, and I'm so sad with what they did to it. Anyway, Treasure Planet was a sci-fi treasure island with a rebellious team lead, perfect for young guys, and this like older cyborg guy who, you know, is sort of like this daddy figure that I'm sure a lot of guys, could relate to. Okay, not only that, but the film is also absolutely beautiful, and it deals with a lot of male-orientated themes that are, I have to imagine, for boys and men, very relatable. You can't tell me that you've watched the montage of Jim and John Silver and the mysterious dad character and not felt something. This movie speaks to all the boys who just wanted daddy to hug them. And me, apparently, for reasons that are inexplicable. But even with all of this, even all these factors, it completely flopped. Like, absolutely fell out of bed, making $109 million on a $140 million budget. And there's a lot of speculation that this was done deliberately as an excuse to move away from 2D animation and make way for new projects, which I watched a 2-hour video that someone made about why this movie was deliberately capsized, and I'll probably link it in the description if you guys are interested, because it really bothers me. Atlantis similarly was a steampunk adventure with a nerdy male hero and an attractive female protagonist. And again, this was a great, engaging story that is visually beautiful. But this, too, barely cleared its $120 million budget. So you might be asking, why did these two movies, if they're so good, fall in a heap? Well, Disney barely marketed them. No Happy Meal toys, no big push, unlike their princess films, which seem to get all of the love. There's this widely held belief that these movies were actually just deliberately set up to fail. Like, Disney didn't believe in stories for boys and couldn't be bothered putting effort into them when it had done so well with its female-led adventures. And yeah, now they're cult classics for those who enjoy a bit of nostalgia, but back then, dead on arrival. And it's not like Disney hadn't seen success before with male-orientated stories like The Lion King, which then knocked it out of the park, but continues to be one of the most popular Disney films to date. Everybody loves a good daddy story. Oh, just the girls on Book Talk? My mistake. The Book Talk ladies need all kinds of therapy. Anyway, this pattern of making a guy-focused story and then starving it shows that Disney's never been all that good at speaking to men. It seems like, in large part, and I could be wrong here, I'm prepared to be wrong here, it feels like, though, that they preferred making fairy tales and princess stories that spoke more to women. But what's weird is that now, with Marvel and Star Wars and even Indiana Jones on the books, why are you repeating the same mistakes? Why keep doing this over and over and over again despite knowing how to fix it? Gen Z men might be a difficult demographic in some ways for Hollywood and studios, but I think the reality here is that human experience transcends age and time, which is why we can tell stories with the same themes and morals over and over and over again and have everyone across time periods still relate to them. Gen Z is also increasingly more and more or right-wing as a cohort, which means that Disney's aggressive political messaging just isn't going to fly. And that's something that they can't seem to deal with. These are guys who want heroes they can root for, stories that feel authentic, protagonists who are both likable, relatable, and extraordinary. And honestly, now that I'm actually thinking about it, I think maybe Gen Z men also want to see men who are not being downtrodden and shamed just for being men. They want to see kind of the inverse of what's been happening to them over the last number of years. So of course, they don't want movies that feel like a corporate diversity checklist. But Disney has spent years calling its male critics toxic and racist instead of actually listening. It has turned its media properties into a DEI lecture hall that young men don't relate to whatsoever. And the box office repeatedly backs this up. The Marvels, Dial of Destiny, Fantastic Four all underperformed with male audiences. Star Wars hasn't had a movie in 7 years, and fans call Disney Plus shows like The Acolyte a sign of creative bankruptcy. So Disney's response to all of that? Blame the fans, label them backward or misogynistic, and never actually look inward to identify the issue. The thing is, and I think this is actually pretty funny, Gen Z is not disinterested in consuming media. They're just disinterested in consuming the media that Disney keeps churning out. They went to see the Minecraft movie, which I think did over $1 billion. They went to see Sonic the Hedgehog, which I learned previously. I made fun of that in another video, and then a bunch of you in the comments were like, Sydney, we love that film. So I don't know, I guess there's like a Sonic fan club or something. Maybe like bronies, but less upsetting. I love that I just keep digging this Sonic the Hedgehog hole deeper and deeper. I've gone ahead and compared you guys to bronies now. I'm sure you're gonna fight me in the comments. So the question is, why did these films do so well? And I think the answer to that is very simple and straightforward. It's because they're fun, they're engaging, there's a little bit of a nostalgia element there, nothing feels forced, and importantly, there's no lectures. This is probably also why the Top Gun remake, is it a remake? Remake sequel that came out recently did insanely well with the boys. Because fighter jets and speed. The airplane kind, not the snort it in a bathroom on a Saturday night with a guy named Josh that you just met 5 minutes ago kind. These other studios weren't out to preach. They were out to entertain. I know, crazy, right? Which is a totally common sense thing to do because at the end of the day, these entertainment companies are still companies that need to make money to survive. I'm no CEO, but I'm pretty sure that extending your middle finger to 50% of the population so hard that you pull a muscle is probably not great business practice. And that's what's so bizarre about all of this. It makes no financial sense to tell the vast majority of moviegoers not to come and see your movies by insulting and demeaning them. The only conclusion that one can reach here is that Disney's adherence to socio-political messaging has literally made them stupid and/or crazy. Their writing rooms apparently could have doubled as padded cells. Disney had in its possession, it still has it in its possession, brands that naturally appeal to men down to their core. War, superpowers, stopping the bad guys. These are all things that grab men's attention. Of course, these things can appeal to some women too, and they do, but statistically speaking, this is what the majority of men will open their wallets for, whether it's tickets or merch or concerts or live events or whatever. How many women do you think own top quality lightsabers versus men? I will bet all the remaining hairs on my head that it's men. By an entire continent. Disney's decision to plant anti-masculine messages in masculine-based entertainment in order to try to attract more women is mind-blowing when you stop to think about it. Women gravitate towards entertainment that deals with relational intrigue, stories where people are tangled in intense situations with one another. Women flock to things like romance films and period dramas, rom-coms, even reality television, and even true crime and documentaries, podcasts and things. If it's about relationships under pressure, it's women who are tuning in to see it by and large. A great example of this is actually Taylor Swift, believe it or not. A huge part of her appeal, I think, is that her music deals with these very issues, and in a high-profile way with high-profile people that puts a little mystery and a little intrigue into the listening experience. This is why you have women hosting entire listening parties to decipher what her lyrics romance mean? I'm not kidding, guys. This woman gets engaged and it's all over my feed. It's all I have seen today. If you were to walk into a room of 20 women watching a romance movie and you said to them, hey ladies, in the next room, I'm gonna play a movie of superheroes beating the crap out of each other, maybe one or two of them would leave to go and watch your violent superhero movie. If you were to do the same thing to a room of 20 men watching a romance movie, then you have probably walked into the wrong room and you should probably leave before things get weird. But let's say hypothetically these were just regular dudes and you offered them the opportunity to watch a superhero movie. I am betting that the majority of them would probably leave to go with you. Why, you might be wondering? Well, because the average man probably doesn't want to watch two people fall in love, but he would want to watch a super person punch another super person into a building. Disney took this well-established idea and decided to try to push a square peg of femininity into a round hole of masculinity. I know that analogy sounds incredibly weird, but I can't think of a better way to articulate it. They tried to appeal to a sense of anti-male sentiment that was popular in social justice circles in movies where it didn't need them, thinking they could make masculine brands appeal to women, thus widening their audience pool. Then they were surprised when women still didn't want to watch and men stopped showing up. The man who chases two rabbits catches neither. Did no one at Disney ever read Confucius? I mean, I don't read Confucius, but I do know that one. Ultimately, I think that Disney's missteps with Gen Z men highlight one really crucial thing, and that is you cannot build a loyal, dedicated audience by lecturing them or sidelining the stories that they love. Franchises like Marvel and Star Wars thrived on having epic adventures and great relatable heroes and characters, not corporate feminism and other weird social justice initiatives being shoved into everything. I think all of Disney's failures over the last number of years, either at the box office or on their streaming platform, really demonstrate that people are gravitating aggressively away from politically motivated, politically driven stories. And like I already mentioned, it's not that Gen Z men aren't interested in consuming media. They are. They're just not interested in consuming this kind of media. And honestly, Disney's pivot towards looking for new IP and new and original stories to tell is definitely a step in the right direction. But rebuilding trust and getting people back on side means actually listening to fans and not simply dismissing them as toxic. In the end, I am genuinely glad to see that Disney seems to be trying to find new stories, but all of it will be for naught if they can't abandon the social justice mindset and agenda that has driven them so far. So I do think it's time for the company to rediscover the magic of its storytelling by making movies and shows that appeal to everybody while not preaching at anyone. Now on that note, and before I open the floor to all of you, this is just a reminder to check out Fume using the link in the description. They've obviously been a long-time supporter of this channel, but if this is something that you struggle with, absolutely check them out and see if they might be a good alternative in helping you stop your bad habit. Now I open the floor to all of you. What do you all think? Is this a step in the right direction for Disney? Do you think that it's actually just them blowing a lot of hot air and they're actually going to change nothing and they're going to keep being hyper political with everything they do? What do you make of Gen Z being the group of people that they want to target? Do you think that this is because they have so badly fumbled with Marvel and Star Wars that they're trying to do something new to appeal to this demographic? What do you make of them fumbling the existing media properties that they own? Is this deliberate? Do you think they did it on purpose to destroy them? Or do you think that it's just been a weird thing that's come about as a result of all of the weird politics that they've shoved into everything? And what do you generally make of this issue overall? As always, if you have made it this far in the video, congratulations. I always like having you along for the full ride. If you are new here and you're not subscribed to the channel and you would like to see more of me and more of this kind of content, feel free to subscribe, as well as leaving this video a like and a comment, because I do read the majority of them and I like hearing your feedback. Of course, in the interim, I hope you little chickadee noodle people stay safe and well and make good choices. Don't make any choices that I wouldn't make, and I will see your wonderful little faces in the next video.